So Jean-François showed you how things work once you have your application submitted and successfully accepted. I will show you what happens exactly at the point when you have prepared your, have done your brainstorming, you have picked your team, and finally, you have submitted it and it arrives at the research agency. Next slide, please, Nadezhda. So just a quick explanation, who are the expert evaluators? I think there is sometimes misconceptions. There's maybe EU staff or there's some bureaucrats deciding about the project. No, actually, these are your peers and these are academics. They're or non-academic field professionals who are really specialists in the field of your research as well. These experts are independent. They assess the proposals completely on their personal basis, so they're not representing their university or their SME or their NGO or their country. So they have to be completely independent. And obviously they need to be impartial and very objective, and the agency is checking this very thoroughly, and they also check all possible conflicts of interest. So this is who the people are. Next slide, please. Nadezhda?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to change it.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Great. Okay. So as I said, you have submitted it. It arrives via email or via the tool. It's arrived at the commission, and so it has been shifted and checked if all documents are there. You have different parts, part A, part B, and so all of this has to be presented. And once this is checked, all the technical parts are checked. Then experts get called for the field. For instance, you have an interdisciplinary project which involves, let's say, biology, chemistry, and maybe, I don't know, IT. So you would really pick like 3 experts with expertises in this particular fields and look them all individually, take a look at the proposal, and independently of each other, check on the merits of this concrete proposal. So this is the first step. And in the second step, as you can see in this picture, these experts come together and each from their own perspective, if there are different disciplines involved, will be discussing the merits of the proposal. This can be sometimes very lengthy discussions. This is very professionally done, and this is a collegial dialogue. And finally, these 3 experts decide on the final scoring. And now I'm going to go into the nitty-gritty. What are the scoring? What are the award criteria? So this is very relevant, and Jean-François already has shown you one part of his proposal, which was successfully accepted, and this was the excellent part. As you see, this is the first criterion, and this is the so-called excellence part, and it weighs a lot. It's 50% of your total scoring. So it's very, very important. Just like he explained before, be very clear what you want to research. Be very clear about your key research questions, because it's going to be checked, the quality and really the pertinence of the research objectives. And what I highlighted here is you have to also bear in mind to explain clearly how the proposal is going to go beyond the state of art. So you have to establish what is currently there, what are the gaps, and how you, with your proposal, are going to close these gaps or move a step forward in the right direction for European research. There are other aspects. I'm just not going to go in all the details, but just I want to highlight regarding the soundness, for instance, for the proposed methodology. A relevant expert, which part of it, which is often forgotten, is the gender aspects in the research. It's sometimes, obviously, it does not apply. But it's not about the gender in your consortium team. So have 50% male or 50% female, just as Jean-François indicated before. No, this is really about your research question and how this research question impacts gender. And this can be, for instance, questions of water in Africa, because females are in charge of the domestic part. So this might be a gender sensitive issue. So just bear in mind also to kind of reflect on these kind of questions. Then very important is also the quality of the training program. You have to think really very well what kind of a training you want to provide for your doctoral candidates, what kind of training is needed, what kind of skills have to be developed to be really employable and have a good career afterwards. So the relevance of the training and also how it fits with your overarching question, it's very, very important. And last but not least, with this excellence criterion is obviously the quality of supervision. Although you might be an excellent university with a good track record, but you really need to describe this in detail. You need to say how the supervision arrangements are made. Is there one supervisor, two supervisor, how the doctoral candidate is going to be monitored, and so on. So these are all, although it might seem obvious to you, you really need to explain all these different aspects and go in detail on the different sub-questions. And you will all find them, and there's an application guide, the guidelines, and you find them also on the websites of the Marie Curie Actions doctoral networks. Next slide, please. The second criterion is the impact criterion, which weighs 30%, also a very important one. And this is really about how your proposal is going to make a change on European level, how it is going to make European research more innovative. And you really need to kind of be able to show it, and also how you're going to strengthen the innovation capacity. So this links back to the step, how does it go beyond the state of art, the current state of art, and how does it really improve innovation on European level? A next very relevant aspect is also because you will have these 10 PhD students in your doctoral networks, and the idea is really to think hard about what kind of skills you're going to be providing to them. So at some point they will really be able to kind of improve their career and have a really good job in the field. So this might be, some skills are kind of difficult to predict in this digital research area right now. Things are changing quickly, but make sure to think hard and good. And the preparation is key, just as my colleague said before, really need to think hard about what kind of skill is needed in this area. The third sub-criterion here is the one which I would say it's the most neglected one. It's about, and it's often where the candidates lose points. This is the one about dissemination, exploitation, and communication activities. There is often not a clear strategy how the results are going to be disseminated, what kind of conferences are going to be made, what kind of ways you are going to communicate. And finally, the target audiences. You need to define who your target audiences are besides academia. It might be relevant, especially if you have non-academic partners, to look at how you're going to communicate with the general audiences, maybe students, maybe young people, and you need different channels for them. You would need maybe Instagram, maybe Facebook, and so on. So this is very important. And finally, the expected impact. So it can be scientific, societal, economic, and obviously not all projects will have an economic impact. You do not address all the three of them, but usually they have scientific and societal impact, and make sure you explain them well. Next slide, please. The last criterion is the criterion 3. It's about implementation, and it weighs 20%. And this is also a very important one. And my colleague was speaking about this before. It's how you construct your consortium, how you start off looking for good partners who will tick the boxes for the different aspects of your training program which you will need. Because when you start thinking about secondments, you really need to provide complementary skills to your doctoral candidates, and you can only do so if you really go and look which kind of institutions, which kind maybe of IT entrepreneurships, which kind of SMEs or NGOs can provide these kind of skills for my doctoral candidates. And finally, the quality, capacity, and role of each participant is relevant in terms of you need to show how the consortium you have chosen, and it's often a lengthy process to find really the best candidates, because sometimes they're not available, or sometimes it's really difficult to keep all of them on board for different reasons. But make sure they have complementary expertise, make sure you show that they have complementary expertise, and make sure that this expertise fits to the overarching goal of your proposal, and that you're going to be filling all the gaps which are there. Next slide, please. So just to kind of sum up and wrap up, keep in mind that the project results of your proposal, they're expected to contribute to the outcomes for the doctoral candidates, which are very relevant. So you're going to provide them with research and transferable skills, and they will have competences to be really competitive in the future market, job market, and they be better employable, and they have better career perspectives. And this can be in academia, but obviously this can be also outside academia, just as you've seen, with industry partners, they might find their jobs in the industry. They will gain new knowledge, and they will be they will have maybe ideas which can be converted in products and services. And this is a point where maybe also in your application, you have to think about intellectual property rights and so on. This is also a very relevant point. And finally, this is a very interesting and worthwhile aspect. This is the enhanced networking and communication among the doctoral candidates, which are the future of the research. As Jean-François told us, some of them still keep in touch. And this is the big benefit of these kind of networks. This is reinforcing him, and this is reinforcing networking in research all over Europe. And the last slide, please. And finally, also for the organizations, so your universities, your non-academic organizations, can be SMEs and so on. What are the results you will be benefiting from? So you will benefit from this networking as well. You will go into different fields you have not explored before. You might be in academia, you might have done a lot of work in the academic field, but now you will be working more outside, maybe also with NGOs, maybe with SMEs and so on. This will give you new ideas. This will really foster your research capacities. This will also contribute to a great transfer of knowledge between the sectors and disciplines. This will have also increased integration of the training. You will have new training capacities in your research organization. It really adds also to your international appeal and attractiveness, maybe also for future proposals. So although this is a very complex proposal, if you start working on it in advance, if you have a really clear idea what you want to do, you get your good consortium together, you get also help if you need help from the contact points. Make sure you take a good look at the applicant's guide, and I think you're in a good way. It's really worthwhile. Thank you so much for your attention.